I'm going with the one who truly loves me. My wife left that note on Christmas night, then used my money to flee with her lover. She didn't know she triggered a clause that cost her everything and made me untouchable to her forever. I went downstairs and found a silence so thunderous it seemed utterly planned, a vacuum of noise where there should have been a chaos of ripped wrapping paper and the aggressive bubbling of the coffee maker. Just a ridiculously loud tick-tock of the old hall clock and the sight of my own breath fogging the kitchen window, and I immediately noticed the empty space in the driveway where her SUV, the one I paid for in cash 2 years ago, usually sat, but seeing the space didn't shock me as much as a meticulously folded note placed right next to where I usually set her coffee mug, which simply read, "I left with someone who really loves me. I use your miles and your card. Take care, Mom." That was it. No signature, no apology, no explanation, just that raw, surgical audacity that actually made me laugh out loud, a single choke sound that felt like it belonged to a stranger, before I poured myself a cup of yesterday's bitter, cold coffee. I walked past the blinking Christmas lights that she insisted I install every single year and headed to the guest room where her mother, Carol, was already sitting up in bed, looking frail and confused in a fluffy robe I gave her last Christmas. "Is she gone?" Carol asked, her voice small and fragile, and I just said, "Apparently," because what else was there to say? She took the miles and left the mother-in-law a nice holiday package, and Carol blinked twice before muttering, "Well, at least she didn't take the dog, even though we've never owned a dog, but I simply made her a plate of eggs and toast and fruit, a quiet act of service for the last decent person left in the house, waving off her thanks and telling her, 'Eat while it's hot.' Then I did what I had to do, walking down to my home office, pulling open the bottom left drawer, and taking out a thin black folder labeled contingency, and the feeling wasn't dread, but a weird sense of validation, like the fire drill I prepared for but hoped would never sound. Inside were documents I've been quietly gathering for the last 9 months. Screenshots, bank transfer records, travel stubs, and spreadsheets, because you don't live with someone for over a decade without noticing when their car's Bluetooth starts pairing with someone else's phone before yours, or when they develop a sudden, inexplicable fear of flying, unless it's with a colleague named Ryan Trevors, whose last name she conveniently forgot in every passing conversation. Oh, and she really should have checked the admin rights on the travel booking site she used with my points, or, not log in from the shared iPad at all, because I had watched her entire surprise getaway unfold like a real-time, high-definition slideshow of Betrayal. 5-star resort in the Bahamas, private plunge pool room, and all the curated misery money could buy. This is the part where most people break, call a therapist, or flip the desk, but I just calmly poured myself a second cup of cold coffee and kept filing, because Serena thought she was walking away from Thomas Whitmore, the boring, predictable provider, the ultimate pushover, but she failed to realize that boring men are the ones who build the silent arsenals. We don't scream. We don't pick fights. We simply observe, we document, and we notarize, because paper, unlike passion, is admissible in court. I opened my email and scheduled a message to be sent in exactly 5 hours to the corporate compliance inbox of the firm Ryan helped run, a nice little Christmas morning gesture titled, "Regarding employee Ryan Trevors and possible violations of the travel reimbursement policy." Just beneath the folder was the real masterpiece, a USB drive labeled Prenuptial Agreement Addendum, which she had signed 5 years ago during what she called her paranoid phase after a friend's messy divorce. And I remember her rolling her eyes when I asked her to read it, but she forgot it existed the second the pen was lifted, while I encrypted it, printed it, had it notarized by 3 different people, and filed it away, because one of the clauses was beautifully specific: nullification of any claim on marital property in the event of willful financial malfeasance or extramarital conduct leading to reputational harm. All I needed was to prove one of the two, and she had carelessly handed me both on a ridiculously expensive neon-colored cocktail platter in the Caribbean. I didn't change the locks, I didn't cancel her phone line, and I didn't drain the joint accounts yet, because that would be too immediate, too kind, but I did make a list, and I am a man who finishes what he starts. By noon, she had already posted 4 pictures on Instagram, all palm trees, white sand, and the kind of aggressively filtered sunsets that scream, "Look how free I am, you loser," and one of them showed her an expensive new swimsuit I bought her, holding a neon cocktail that probably cost more than my weekly groceries, and Ryan from marketing, had his arm over her waist like he owned the air she breathed, and in the next one, he was kissing her cheek with the caption, Christmas. Miracle. Finally with someone who gets me. Another poster said, true love, new beginnings, no more lies. I didn't comment, I didn't flinch. I just right-clicked, downloaded the images, and opened a tab I hadn't touched in 3 years. Vanguard Investigations, the same agency I used when a former business partner tried to embezzle from a licensing deal. I attached the images to a message titled Urgent Surveillance, request with note. Subject, my wife, Serena Whitmore, accompanied by Ryan Trevors. Location, Bay Azul Resort, Turks and Caicos. Please confirm romantic conduct for documentation purposes. I hit send because every post was a breadcrumb trail of self-incrimination, confirming the exact timeline for clause, and then slowly, deliberately, I uploaded the addendum she never bothered to read to the shared legal folder on my desktop, Appendix C, and I remember the exact moment she signed it, distracted, signing with the lazy energy of someone blindly clicking accept all cookies on a new website. The irony was psychic. Appendix C stated that the dissolution clause was triggered from the moment the action was committed, not when it was discovered, which meant every single dollar she spent with Ryan on that island from my points, from our joint account, or from her secret slush fund, would legally qualify as theft on her part, and she didn't even know it yet. My financial monitoring alerts confirmed she had withdrawn $4,200 in the last 72 hours, half to the resort, half for spa treatments, and that utterly practical, diamond-encrusted phone case, and I marked each expense in red on the spreadsheet, finding a strange, almost meditative calm in the process. My private investigator replied late that afternoon. 2 agents were already en route, drones, cameras, the works, and they had confirmed that Ryan had booked the room using his company's executive account, which he thought was smart, but that's the difference between being unfaithful and being unfaithful intelligently. I added one more document to the shared folder before logging off, a short affidavit from my financial advisor, dated a month ago. The next morning, I called the number with the intention of ruining someone, and there was no anger in it, no yelling, just precision. I found the compliant hotline in the tiny print of Ryan's company footer, and when the line rang 3 times, a dry, professional female voice answered, corporate ethics and compliance. This is Dana. I kept my tone level, even polite. Hello, my name is Thomas Whitmore. I believe one of your employees, Ryan Trevors, may have violated company travel and conduct policy. A pause. I'm not alleging anything. I said, I'm sending you a folder. It contains geotag images of your employee on a resort trip. The billing for said trip appears to have been processed through your corporate travel department. He is accompanied by my wife, who has no business affiliation with your company. It also includes several timestamps showing him using what appears to be a company-issued laptop with your logo sticker still on the screen. Her voice was sharper now. Can you forward those files? Already did, I said. Subject, Code of Conduct Clarification, Ryan Trevors. I'll let you decide if that aligns with your company's values. She cleared her throat. Thank you, Mr. Whitmore. We will escalate this internally. Take your time, I said. He's on vacation for now. I hung up and leaned back, the silence in the house now surgical, the quiet before the detonation, and I forwarded the confirmation email, reference number ETH92831, to Mr. Davis, my lawyer, with the subject breadcrumb number 3. Later, Carol asked if I'd heard from Serena. No, I said, she's probably thinking I'm helpless here, the old woman muttered. She left you here with a man she thought she was humiliating. I replied, turns out she left you with the only person in this house who cares about your blood pressure pills. She let out a short, dry laugh. You know, she always did think she was a smart one. I smiled. She was just not in the way she imagined. That night, Carol came into the study and pulled out a small, folded notebook from her pocket. I wasn't snooping. I was just looking for a stamp. I found this in her desk. I think she thought I wouldn't understand what it meant. Inside, a handwritten list. Private transfer, payout account, $2,500. T3 bonus diverted, $1,800. Travel fund balance, $7,420. Neat. Itemized. Calculated. She thought she was building her freedom, but she was just funding the evidence. She told me she was saving money for our anniversary, Carol murmured. But she said the same thing last year and the year before. I put the notebook aside. She's been moving it in $500 increments for months. She thought it would fly under the radar, but it didn't. I scanned every page, labeled it Exhibit D, and cross-referenced the dates with my expense log. And in that moment, I stopped being a man she thought would beg and became the man she should have feared. 2 days later, around 10:42 a.m., my phone vibrated, and the voice on the other end was firm. "This is Alex Crawford. I'm the founder and managing director of Vanguard Motion, the company where Ryan Trevors is, or rather, was employed." I said nothing, letting the weight of that word settle. "They're flying back now. Economy class. Privileges have been revoked," Crawford said. "Ryan's termination letter was delivered this morning. He has been locked out of his company accounts, travel card, and client portals." "And my wife?" I asked. "She was listed as a co-organizer on the venue invoice. Our finance department believes some of the event was billed to your shared card. I already have the documentation." "She'll be back in the city tonight," Crawford said. "I imagine she'll come to you first. She'll probably think she can cry her way out of this." A cold laugh got stuck in my throat. "She won't be crying to me." Figured as much. Consider this a courtesy call. From one quiet man to another. I hung up, and the house felt absolutely still, the calm before the detonation. I met with Mr. Davis, my lawyer, just after sunrise, and within an hour, all joint accounts were frozen, not closed, just locked up tight enough that her car would decline in the middle of a latte, and the house was moved out of both our names and into a living trust controlled exclusively by me. I stopped at the hardware store and bought a new smart lock hub, which I installed myself, blacklisting her phone, her laptop logged out, every digital trace of her access wiped cleaner than her vacation selfies. By noon, I had the house to myself, digitally, legally, and physically. I cleaned, vacuumed the hallway, refolded the linens, not out of spite, but because I wanted everything to look exactly as she had left it, except for one detail. In the center of the kitchen table, I placed one thick, firm, unyielding sealed envelope with the words "upon your return" in my handwriting. It contained a printed version of the prenuptial addendum, the highlighted fun notebook, a still frame from the resort's drone footage with the timestamp, an account summary showing zero available in her travel fund, and finally, the line on company letterhead. Termination effective immediately. Internal investigation pending. Do not return to any Vanguard Motion properties. I slipped it just under the envelope's flap, a visible warning. And then I stepped back, looking at the house. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was setting the pace. She would land. She would check her balance. She would try the door. It would fail. I sat on the couch and waited. Around 6:30 that evening, I heard the crunch of tires on the thin layer of ice in the driveway, the sound that used to mean she was home. Now it just meant the wolves thought they could crawl back into the den after they'd set it on fire. I stayed in the study, a hardback copy of the prints resting in my lap, not reading, just letting the silence sharpen around me. Then came the first knock, quick, hesitant. She rang the doorbell once, twice, then again more aggressively, and outside, muffled voices bled to the front door, hers and Ryan's. "Maybe he's not." I heard Ryan mumble. "His car is in the garage." "Thomas, open the door." Nothing. I turned a page I wasn't reading. From the upstairs landing, Carol leaned over slightly, just enough for them to hear, and said dryly, "You left me here like luggage." He didn't. That silenced Serena for a moment. Then she escalated to screaming about needing her things. I closed the study door, letting the noise fade to a dull thumping. I checked my phone. The smart lock app confirmed her failed access attempts. I opened my laptop and reviewed the file. Finalized. Irrevocable. I was past anger, past sadness. What I felt was the absolute calm of total control. I listened as her voice cracked. "Thomas, please. I can explain. Just let me in, please." The performance. Ryan tried too, his voice thin. "Hey, man. Look, I know things got a little complicated. We can talk. I got up, walked the hall, and watched them from the narrow window. She was disheveled, frantic, mascara smudge. Ryan looked defeated. The envelope I had left on the kitchen table remained untouched. They hadn't even made it far enough to read the first page of their new reality. They thought drama wins, that if she cried hard enough, the locks would open, but the door stayed locked, and the man inside wasn't the same when she left. He was the one who had replaced begging with a court order. They eventually left, the crunch of the tires fading into the night, taking the chaos with them, and I poured myself a fresh cup of coffee, finally enjoying the silence, the crisp, dry silence of notarized documents and an irreversible finality, the best Christmas present I ever gave myself.